From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm John Kennedy. For the first time ever, Canada has had its first case of domestically acquired avian flu. The country's public health agency has confirmed that a teenager hospitalized in British Columbia last week has tested positive for H5N1 virus. Canadian Press reporter Nicole Ireland says while there are no indications it could spark a pandemic, experts are urging caution.
Whether it becomes a pandemic or not is really like Russian roulette. It's sort of luck of the draw. So what happens next is we look and see if there's any other cases in Canada. The hope, of course, is that there will not be, but most experts agree that there most probably will be.
She says experts believe we should be stocking up on H5N1 vaccines as a precaution. The Mounties say they've arrested 3 men with ties to Mexican drug cartels after a search in BC. RCMP investigators say they searched a home surrounded by razor wire fencing and steel gates in Surrey, BC, arresting the men and disrupting their alleged operation. Officers seized 23 firearms throughout the raid, alongside several thousand rounds of ammunition and multi-kilos of illicit drugs. Police could not say which cartel group the men were a part of, but confirmed the operation had been disrupted because of a kingpin arrest in the U.S. over the summer. Following speed restrictions being imposed on Via Rail's new high-speed trains, the railway operator is asking for a judicial review of the reasons behind the move. Canadian National Railway says it put the restrictions in place for the passenger trains at rail crossings, given the industry's experience and known risks associated with trains similar to the ones that Via has now put into service. The Crown Corporation says CN hasn't provided any evidence or valid reasoning for that change. Via says the restrictions are causing daily delays on Via Rail's Quebec City to Windsor corridor. Taylor Swift's arrival in Toronto is expected to bring chaos and congestion to city streets. With potentially millions of Taylor Swift fans expected to descend on the city, some residents and local businesses are adjusting their plans to avoid the area around the venue. Ahil Dayani says he and his friends had rescheduled a birthday bash for one of their pals after realizing it would overlap with the concerts. He says Swift's coming to town has kind of changed up his social life, so he and his friends plan to hunker down until the concerts pass. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump announced several key cabinet nominations today for his new administration.
President-elect Trump Wednesday naming his choices for several key seats in his new administration. For Secretary of State, Trump tapping his one-time presidential primary opponent, Republican Senator Marco Rubio. Trump's pick for Attorney General, Republican Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. Dave Packer, ABC News.
This is the Canadian Press. In sports, the Toronto Maple Leafs are in Washington to take on the Capitals in NHL action. Capitals captain Alex Ovechkin scored 2 goals in an 8-1 win over St. Louis on Saturday and gave him 10 goals this season and 863 for his career, just 31 shy of Wayne Gretzky's all-time record. The Professional Women's Hockey League is coming to the next edition of EA Sports' popular NHL video game series. All 6 teams and their branding will be represented in NHL 25, which comes out on December 5th. Gamers will also be able to create their own PWHL player and compete for the Walter Cup. Tampa Bay Rays shortstop Wander Franco has been granted supervised release in the Dominican Republic after being arrested and charged for illegally carrying a gun in his vehicle. The judge says Franco needs to report to court once a month while he's being investigated for carrying the firearm. He's also awaiting trial in a sex abuse case. From the Canadian Press, I'm John Kennedy.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.